All right, hello everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. We're really excited to have you. Apologies for the technical difficulties there getting everything set up, but we seem to have them worked out. My name is Brendan Woodruff. I'm the co-chair of the Green New York Operations and Engagement Subcommittee. I know we have quite a few municipalities on the line today, so to let you know, Green New York is New York State's government operations sustainability program. We focus on making state operations more sustainable, lowering our emissions, and operating more efficiently. So with today's webinar, since we do have this fantastic new community solar contract out there, we wanted to open this up to you as well. It's a resource that is available to both any authorized users, so both state agencies and municipalities. And in addition, while we do have you on the line here, I also wanted to let you know that if you're looking for more resources like the one we're providing today, you can find those on the Green New York website. So if you go to ogs.ny.gov/greenny, all one word, Green NY, you'll find a whole host of resources to help you operate more sustainably. Most of those are focused towards state agency operations, but they're also really applicable to municipal operations as well. And one thing that I'll point you to is our green purchasing specifications. And a lot of those are being incorporated into contracts like what you're hearing about today with the Community Solar Award. So if your community is looking at a green purchasing program or looking for other resources, make sure to check out the Green New York website as well. So with that, we'll get into the meat of today's presentation. It's my pleasure to introduce Todd Kaiser with the OGS Green Procurement Team, who's going to go through and talk about the new community solar contract. So thanks a lot, Todd.
Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone can hear me okay? Hopefully?
Yep.
Very good.
And you should have presenter privileges too, so you can move.
Right. Yeah, I have to figure out how to.
It's over on the left-hand side. There should be a bar that comes up. I can move them for you. Just let me know when you want me to move them.
Okay, if you can go to the next one.
Yep.
Is it transferring on your end? I'm still.
Yeah. Let me move it. Yeah, it should be.
There we go.
Yep, perfect. Take it away.
All right, thank you. So the Green Procurement Team was established in 2017 to help purchasers find green contracts, develop green contracts, and identify savings resulting from the use of the green contracts. Next. This is the Green Team, which is led by Todd Gardner, our team leader, and then Kelly, myself, and Jennifer are his team members. Next, please. This is a screenshot of some of the green contracts on the OGS Green New York website. There's a lot of helpful information here. So I just wanted to mention that so people could get access to that. Next. So how to find the community solar contract on the OGS website. The OGS homepage, if you put your cursor on the procurement on the OGS homepage and click on contracts from the list that populates. Next. There are several ways to get to the contract, but I like to show people this way because most people don't know that there is an all-inclusive list of procurement services contracts. So if you scroll down on that screen, you'll see the complete listing of statewide contracts. And if you click on that, the PDF document that comes up is a complete listing of procurement service contracts, and it's updated monthly. And if you press F-Control to bring up the search text box and type community, you can find the community solar contract award number. But this is a great tool if you use the contracts that procurement services produces. this is a great list of the contracts that's all-inclusive. It's not found anywhere else on our website. So once you have the award number, you can press the back arrow and then scroll up to the Search Contract Awards. Then you can type in the award number, which is 23162, and click on the award number to go to the contract homepage. So this is the homepage for the community solar contract. Everything you need to use the contract can be found here, and the contractor information page also has a wealth of information. The community solar contract is for facilities that have an SC1 classification or SC2 classification. It's not really meant for larger facilities. So as I mentioned, the SC1 and SC2 classified facilities, just for reference, the National Grid installs demand meters when a customer's energy consumption exceeds 2,000 kilowatt hours of consumption per month for 4 consecutive months. So this policy may differ by utility, but it can give you a basic range when you check your utility bills to see if you're an SC1 or SC2. But of course, you do have to confirm either on your utility bill or with your utility that you are an SC1 or SC2 classified. So back on the landing page is where you can find the FAQ and how to use this contract document. This should answer any questions you may have. If not, you can always reach out to me and I can help you with whatever you need.
And one other note about questions, if you do have questions as we go along, please type them into the chat box. At the end of the webinar, we'll be going through and answering your questions. So any questions you do have today, please type them into the chat box.
Okay, to the next slide. So this is the contractor information page where you'll find the relevant information to use the contract. Contractor's contact information, the award pricing summary in attachment 1, and the RFQ request for quote form is attachment 4. The award document has very little information. It used to be our main information page, but now we separated the information and it appears within the contract page. So this information page offers the contract term, OGS contract manager, contact information, and awarded contractors. We have 5 contractors on this contract currently. And we do have a periodic recruitment clause in this contract where we can go out to bid again and add additional contractors if need be. Next slide. Before getting into the steps to use the contract, it helps understand the 2 lots offered on the contract. Lot 1, BEATR, the value of distributed energy resources, was phased in as a compensation model going forward. It replaces net energy metering, and for this reason, we had a better bidder turnout for Lot 1 BEATR projects. Next slide. Lot 2 are net energy metering compensated projects. There's a limited number and a declining number of NEM community projects, community solar projects available. After consulting with the folks at NYSERDA, we thought it would be prudent to offer them on the contract while they're still available. So they are available on here. Next slide. This is the pricing summary and awardees list for Lot 1. As mentioned, the majority of the community solar projects available through this contract are BEATR projects. You can see here that Lot 1 has the 7 regional utilities. If you notice, for Region 1, there are 5 community solar subscription providers. The discounts indicated here are minimum discounts. The bidders must offer these discounts or greater. The discount applies to both supply and delivery charges on your electric utility bill. So once you have determined if your facility is an SD1 or SD2 classification, the next thing to do is to identify the region. And this will determine the pool of contractors that you will send your request for quote to. Next slide. So for Lot 2, there are actually 21 regions awarded. And for clarity, I'm showing just the first 11 regions here. The reason there are 21 is due to the way net energy metering subscriptions are compensated. The subscriber needs to be in the same utility and ISO zone as the community solar project to be quoted subscriptions. So we had a limited number of bidders in response to Lot 2 due to the declining number of projects available. As was the case with Lot 1, the percent discount identified here are minimum discounts. The bidder must offer these discounts or greater. The percent discount applies, again, to both supply and delivery charges. Lot 2 also had a kilowatt hour form of compensation, which was available, but we had no bidders for that award, so I'm not going to go into the details on that. The percent discount seems to be the business model subscription sellers are favoring at this time. So attachment 4 is the request for a quote form. Contract users will use attachment 4 to solicit quotes from the contractors awarded in the service area and region that the contract user's facility is in. If you notice on the bottom of the screen, there's instruction tabs. You can use that to walk your way through this. The contract users will complete the light blue colored sections before sending the quote form to the awarded contractors in the region the facility is in. The reason the RFQ form is required is because the contract was bid as non-competitive. We simply qualified and vetted the bidders with a minimum discount. New York State requires competition when spending taxpayer money is required to satisfy the competitive requirement. Next slide. So this is the bottom part of the RFQ form for contract users to complete. Contract users get this information from the utility bills or contact your utility to get the facility information to enter on the RFQ form. You would then email the RFQ forms to the awarded contractors in your region. Next. The contractors will use the bottom section of the RFQ form and complete the section highlighted in yellow to provide the estimated quote, annual cost, and estimated savings to respond to the RFQ. Next, contractors will submit their pricing to contract users on attachment 4 and also submit attachment 5, the subscription rider form, attachment 6, the owner's authorization form, if applicable, and the contractor subscription form. The attachment 5 subscription rider states, notwithstanding any language in contrary to the contrary, in this subscription agreement is subject to the terms and conditions of the contract. So the rider is basically a form protecting the terms of our contract and to assure that the terms that are presented in the subscription agreement from the contractors do not diminish our terms. So you have to get these other documents. What's on the screen here is what you would see when you get your quote request back. So when you get the request for quote back, you have to compare the responses to confirm that all the bidders bid the same capacity, apples to apples. Then determine the lowest best cost discount and savings. Review the subscription agreement to ensure none of their terms conflict or diminish the OGS contract terms. And make sure that you have a subscription rider and the owner's authorization form if applicable. The subscription rider protects the contract user's terms and subscription agreement that may contradict or diminish the contract, the OGS executed contract. Next. So these are the important specifications that we have in the contract that are really the key points of the contract. And I'm going to read them just because they are the important and they're really the main guidelines. So the contract or subscription agreement must allow for cancellation of subscriptions without any additional charges, financial penalties, or requirements to find a replacement customer, provided that a 90-day written notice is given by the contract user. Must not require upfront costs to subscribe and must allow contract users to modify their subscription capacity annually. Next. The contractors must provide a monthly statement to the contract users showing the amount of electricity generated by their subscription, the credit amount applied to their utility bill, and the cost of the subscription. You must provide a true-up or equivalent mechanism that at least annually to ensure that contract users pay only for actual credits for the electricity generated by their subscription. Next slide. So the contractor shall be responsible for resolving all contract user complaints. In addition to the contractor is fully responsible for warranties, maintenance, and production guarantees for the entire system for the entire term of the subscription. Contractor shall provide those agreements or other documents necessary to facilitate the subscription to community solar projects being bid to the authorized user with the contractor's response to the RFQ. The contractor will respond to RFQs only for community solar projects approved by New York Sun, with the exception of the regions that include Long Island. And there's sort of 2 lots in Long Island that not require New York Sun participation. Should the New York Sun program be replaced or discontinued during the course of this contract, OGS reserves the right to substitute an equivalent replacement program for this requirement. So, in summation, this is an easy contract to use. It allows for an easy exit if necessary to withdraw from it if you're not satisfied with the results that you're getting. So I recently talked to one community solar user that used the contract to get subscriptions for a few of their facilities. One of the facilities was quoted by a contractor at 30% of their electric capacity. The other bidders bid 100% of the capacity. So contract users should evaluate the RFQ responses carefully and award the business to the contractor that provides the most attractive financial outcome. So that pretty much is the end of my presentation. The contract is really very easy to use, and you know, if you have questions, I'll take them now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Todd. So the first question here is, roughly, what is the total time frame for the process of getting the quotes?
I haven't had a lot of communication yet on contract users, but it should just take a couple of days. And on the RFQ form, we do have a space on the form for the authorized users of the contract to provide a due date for the request for quotes. But I can't imagine it would be more than a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. And here's another question here. This might get into kind of some state agency purchasing stuff, but what if you don't get back 3 quotes, if you only get back 1 or 2?
So within our instructions, we address this scenario. And what we suggest is that if you get 1 quote back, try to go out and get quotes from non-contractors. There's a bunch of them out there, these community solar subscription sellers. So, you should be able to go out and get a non-contract subscription quote, and then use that to compare what you've gotten as a quote from this contract. And then, of course, if the other subscriptions come back at less money, I would go back to the contract holder and ask them to meet that agreement.
Mm-hmm. And here's a clarification question. Do I understand correctly that only SC1 and SC2 customers can buy power from the contract?
Yes, that's correct. We had several discussions with the folks from NYSERDA regarding having authorized users becoming anchor tenants on some of these community solar farms, and the notion was that, or the thing that concerned us was that if you are the primary off-taker on a larger community solar project, that it might have an issue with the project not being built with prevailing wage rates, which is required for, as you know, for construction contracts. So although the project would have not been built specifically for that anchor tenant, we thought it best that we stick to the SC1 and SC2 classifications to avoid that issue.
Mm-hmm. So the next question here, and this one I'm not sure if you can get into, is utilizing this community solar contract, will that help agencies towards what's required under them under the CLCPA and some of the executive orders and Build Smart programs that are out there?
Well, when you become a subscription, when you get a subscription, I believe the credits for the project go to the owner of the project, which would be the subscription seller. So,
would that be the REC, the renewable energy credit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm not sure if that is a requirement for being able to take credit for, you definitely will be getting clean energy, and you definitely will be getting or should be getting a discount if the panels produce at the expected rate. But I would think I would have to ask NYSERDA folks about whether you could claim it as when you're not getting the RECs.
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's something that we can go back to NYSERDA with. In terms of some of the EOs there and the Green New York program in general, anything that our agencies can do to increase renewable energy procurement is a positive, and it helps us meet those goals, especially under the new Climate Act that asks agencies to step up and lead by example. So one of the good things about this community solar contract is that when you're buying power from it, you're buying power from New York State community solar farms. So unlike, say purchasing a REC from out of state or something like that, purchasing through this contract is directly supporting solar power in New York State and in our communities. So, using it is going to be a direct benefit for a lot of these things, and we'll find out more on the REC question. So the next one that we have that came in here is, what benefits are there for using one of these companies that are on the contract versus going off contract and doing your own procurement?
Well, the idea of doing this contract was that, we'd get some volume and get better discounts than are being offered out on the street. And from what I've seen, we've seen greater discounts than you could get on your own out there. I was hoping we'd have more competition on the most of the lots, but so we may go out in the future to do a periodic recruitment and add more contractors to make it more competitive. But we're thinking the volume of sales that will occur on this contract will help drive better discounts for everyone.
There were a couple questions about RECs, which we'll look into. Does the contract get into any kind of specifications for how the panels are set up, where they're put, safety aspects, anything about the farm itself, or is this just for off-taking the energy?
This is just for off-taking the energy. All these projects are all done in conjunction with the New York Sun program. So, excluding the Long Island regions. So, the quality of the work and all the requirements that are required through the New York Sun program, I think, make for a very solid set of projects out there. They meet a lot of requirements. They have a lot of requirements to meet in order to get that New York Sun designation and to get their incentives through that program. So we expect the projects all to be top quality.
And if anybody has any further questions, please type them into the chat box here. We do have time for a couple more questions, so if you do have any, please type them into the chat box. And Todd, you mentioned that you had heard from one community that's used the contract already. Have you heard of any others? Has there been some interest? Have you had any feedback from that community as to how the contract went?
No, they use it on 3 different buildings, and they were happy with it. That the process was pretty smooth. They just had the only question they had for me was that the one company on the contract that only bid 30% of their electric capacity for some reason, and we were both thinking that might be due to limitations on their availability for the solar project in that region, possibly. But they were pretty happy with it. They said it was very easy to use. So I'll find out more here in a couple of weeks. We'll be getting our first sales reports from these companies. So we'll be seeing at that point, what kind of sales we're getting on it.
Yeah, and we had another question come in here. For this, the prices are not fixed, but they float with VETR for the ones that go under the VETR. How are future price estimates and saving estimates by the contractors put into the bid? Is that just by percentage?
So there's no escalation for the pricing that's in the contract. Those discounts are in place and firm for the term of the contract, the full term of the contract. So the bidders will have to bid those discounts at a minimum, but
it comes back as a percentage of savings from what your bill is now, as opposed to like a specific, here's what it will cost you over the life of the subscription or something like that. It's not in dollars, it's more in percentages.
Well, the request for quote form does have a space on there for the bidders to identify the cost savings that the project will deliver for them. Assuming that it's working at its optimum level and we have enough sunshine and that kind of thing.
And let me just check. And again, if you do have any questions, please type them in the chat box. We do have some time here. Here is, do you know when the next refresh period for the contract is going to be for more bidders to join?
No, we don't. We haven't set a date or time or anything like that, it's still at our discretion. So I think we'll probably wait for a couple of cycles on the sales reporting to see how it's going and evaluate things to see if we can add more in areas that weren't bid on previously, where we didn't get awards out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's at our discretion, and we'll review it after looking at some sales reports over the next couple of sessions.
Yeah. So I've had a couple questions about will this presentation be available afterwards? Yes, we have recorded it. We're going to put it on the Green New York website. If you have any questions about where to find that, feel free to email me. If you type into the chat box that you'd like that information, I can message you with my email address. So, not seeing any other questions, Todd, thanks a lot for presenting today. I think this contract has a lot of potential, especially when it comes to some of those, as we talked about, smaller facilities out there where there might be a lot of meters, in a way to get some of those areas that might not fall under your larger PPA or larger installation at a large facility, to get them powered with solar and to bring up your overall renewable energy portfolio for your entity. Let me just check here for questions once more. And yeah, with that, Todd, thanks again. Any parting thoughts?
No, thank you for having me today. I appreciate you having me on to get this contract out there. And please call me if you have any questions or comments. I would love to hear from you.
Yep, and again, everybody, in addition to this, please check out the Green New York website. We have a lot of really good resources out there, not just on this, but on green purchasing, on green operations of all sorts that could help your organization. So thanks a lot, everybody, for joining, and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.